Welcome to the Friday Night Campfire Stories. My name is Rob, and I will be your host for this evening. If you're new here, every single Friday I share a new chapter from one of my original stories right here on my YouTube channel. However, yesterday was the final Friday of the month, meaning that we wrapped up my story, Utopia, and what I like to do when we wrap up one story is I like to compile all 4 chapters into one full video. That way, if you're watching this in the future, or if you'd rather just have all the parts out at once, then you're able to just watch this one video all the way through and you get the full story. However, if you are new here, you may want to consider checking out every Friday as I release a new chapter from one of my thrilling stories. Today, I'll be sharing with you the full story of Utopia. Utopia is from my book, A Perfect Journey Through Villainous Eyes. The story follows Anna, who starts out as a young girl but quickly progresses through her childhood. And she lives in this perfect town called Edenville. It's a perfect town with perfect people, perfect nature, perfect everything. Too perfect. As she gets older, she starts to realize that things may not be 100% right in this town of Edenville. And so she decides she wants to learn more about it. However, every time that she does, something or someone is there to put a stop to it. It is a thriller story with so much mystery and conspiracy that it will keep you glued and questioning what will happen next until the very end. And I can't wait for you guys to check it out. So without further ado, this is my story, Utopia.
Utopia. Chapter 1. Anna sat on the edge of the marble fountain, the sunlight catching the water's arc as it splashed into the basin. Around her, Edenville unfolded like a dream. Cobblestone streets wove through immaculate gardens, where roses bloomed in perfectly coordinated colors: red, yellow, white. The air smelled of lilacs and freshly baked bread, wafting from the bakery just down the lane. Children laughed as they chased one another, their giggles mingling with the gentle hum of a string quartet performing at the corner cafe. Every passerby smiled, each face glowing with kindness and health, as if the very idea of conflict or worry had been erased from their minds. It was always like this in Edenville: peaceful, harmonious, perfect. Anna dipped her hand into the fountain's cool water, watching the ripples distort her reflection. The face staring back at her was youthful and serene, framed by neatly combed chestnut hair. She wore a sundress her mother had made, the pale blue fabric as flawless as the day itself. "Anna, darling," called a warm, familiar voice. Her mother, Lila, stood at the edge of the square, carrying a wicker basket brimming with groceries. Her father, Marcus, trailed behind, chuckling as he struggled to balance a bouquet of sunflowers and a loaf of bread in one hand. Anna sprang to her feet, a smile lighting up her face as she jogged over to them. Lila kissed her cheek, and Marcus ruffled her hair in mock annoyance. "I told you to meet us at the market," Lila said, her tone affectionate but teasing. "You were supposed to help carry all this." "I was busy," Anna replied with a grin, motioning toward the fountain. "Daydreaming." Marcus handed her the bouquet. "Well, here's your reward, Miss Daydreamer. Now you can carry these." As they walked home, Anna felt the familiar warmth of belonging, the comforting certainty that all was right with the world. Her parents chatted about the evening's potluck dinner, where neighbors would gather to share food and stories. Anna nodded along, her mind wandering. It wasn't that she didn't love Edenville, she did. But lately, with Anna slowly growing up, there had been a strange tug in her chest, a question she couldn't quite shake. Was this all there was? Her gaze drifted to the horizon, where the city's pristine streets ended and a thick forest began. The towering trees seemed to stretch endlessly, their dark shadows in stark contrast to the brightness of Edenville. No one ever talked about what lay beyond. And when Anna asked, her parents would smile politely and change the subject. "Edenville is perfect," they would say. "Why would you ever want to leave?" Anna wanted to believe them. She wanted to be content. But as the golden light of the afternoon began to fade, she felt it again, that restless pull. A whisper at the edge of her mind, as faint and fleeting as the breeze that rustled the sunflowers in her arms. Something wasn't right, and for the first time, Anna wondered if perfect could be a lie. The sound of the town bell echoed through the square, marking the start of another idyllic day in Edenville. Anna waved to Mr. Fenton, the grocer, who greeted her with a broad smile as he placed a perfectly ripe apple in her hand. "On the house, Anna," he said, his voice warm and paternal. "Keep being the town's brightest star." Anna thanked him, biting into the crisp fruit as she strolled past the tailor's shop. Mrs. Calloway was in the window, hemming a suit, her fingers moving with practiced grace. She paused to wave, her glasses slipping down her nose. "Your dress for the festival is nearly finished, dear," she called out. "You'll look stunning." "Thank you, Mrs. Calloway," Anna replied, her cheeks flushing at the attention. The streets buzzed with cheerful energy. The flower vendor hummed as she arranged her bouquets. The baker, Mr. Halston, handed fresh bread to a line of laughing customers. Everywhere Anna looked, people were kind, happy, and helpful. Edenville wasn't just a place, it was a living portrait of harmony. Time seemed to flow effortlessly in Edenville, marked by seasons that always arrived just as they should. Gentle springs, radiant summers, golden autumns, and cozy winters. Anna excelled at everything she tried. At 8, she helped organize a neighborhood cleanup, earning the mayor's praise. At 10, she won first prize in the Edenville Art Fair with a painting of the town square. By 12, she was top of her class in academics, admired by peers and teachers alike. Eva, her best friend, was always by her side. They were inseparable, two halves of the same coin. While Anna exuded quiet confidence, Eva was the boisterous one, always ready with a joke or a mischievous plan. Together, they were a team, whether it was acing group projects or winning the annual sack race at the town picnic. By the time Anna turned 16, her reputation as the golden girl of Edenville was firmly established. Her school grades were flawless, straight A's in every subject. Teachers praised her discipline and dedication, and her classmates adored her for her kindness and humility. Eva remained her steadfast companion. They would spend hours studying together, planning their future, or simply lying on the hill overlooking the town, dreaming of what lay beyond. "Do you ever wonder what's out there?" Anna asked one evening, her gaze fixed on the forest that bordered Edenville. Eva chuckled. "You're always so curious, Anna. Why would you need anything more than this?" She stretched her arms wide, gesturing to the glittering town below. "We have everything we could ever want." Anna smiled, but the restless tug in her chest returned. At 18, Anna stood on the central stage during the Harvest Festival, accepting an award for her academic excellence. The crowd cheered, their faces lit with pride and admiration. Eva whistled loudly from the front row, clapping as if her hands might fall off. Anna scanned the crowd. Everyone she loved and cared for was there. Her parents, her friends, her neighbors. And yet, amidst the applause, she felt a pang of unease. The same whisper that had followed her since childhood. Is this all there is? As the festival lights twinkled against the darkening sky, Anna glanced toward the edge of the forest. It loomed silently, its shadow stretching like fingers, pulling her thoughts toward the unknown. For a moment, she wondered if the applause, the cheers, the smiles, if it was all a beautiful lie. The morning of graduation was a celebration of perfection, as everything in Edenville always was. The town square had been transformed into an open-air auditorium, decorated with streams of golden ribbons and fresh bouquets. Rows of chairs faced the stage, where a podium stood beneath an arch of sunflowers. Anna adjusted her cap and gown, glancing at her reflection in a nearby window. She looked the part, confident, poised, and radiant. Yet, beneath her calm exterior, a twinge of nervousness stirred. She had written her speech late last night, struggling to find the right words, to encapsulate everything she felt about the future. When her name was called, the applause was deafening. She stepped onto the stage, her gaze sweeping across the sea of proud faces. Her parents beamed in the front row, and Eva gave her an encouraging thumbs up. Anna took a deep breath and began. Good morning, friends, family, and the class of 2025. Today, we stand at a crossroads, the end of one journey and the beginning of another. For as long as I can remember, Edenville has been our home, our sanctuary, and our guiding light. We've grown up surrounded by kindness, by love, and by a community that always lifts us up. We are the luckiest people in the world to have been raised here. And yet, as I look out at all of you, my classmates, my peers, my friends, I can't help but wonder, is this where our story ends? We've been given so much, but with great blessings comes great responsibility. Responsibility not just to our families or our town, but to the world. What lies beyond the borders of Edenville? What challenges await us outside this perfect haven? I believe it is our duty, our privilege to find out. Because I know this for certain, the world needs us. We've been taught to strive for excellence, to treat others with respect, to solve problems with creativity and compassion. These are not just values for Edenville, they are values for humanity. Imagine the impact we could have if we took all that we've learned here and shared it beyond these borders. Imagine how we could change the world. Anna paused, scanning the audience. A murmur had begun, subtle but unmistakable. She pressed on, her voice steady. I know this might sound daunting. After all, Edenville is perfect. It's easy to stay in a place where everything is comfortable and familiar. But growth comes from stepping outside of our comfort zones. Change comes from daring to ask questions and seek answers. So I challenge all of us, myself included, to look beyond the horizon, to ask what more we can do, not just for our town, but for the world. Let's be brave enough to write a future that's even brighter than the one we've been given. Her final words hung in the air like a spark, waiting to ignite. The world is bigger than Edenville. Let's go out there and find it. The applause that followed was polite, but not thunderous. Anna noticed the way some people exchanged uneasy glances. Her parents smiled, but it was a strained, nervous smile. Even Eva seemed hesitant as she clapped, her usual exuberance subdued. As Anna stepped off the stage, the town mayor approached her, his expression kind but cautious. A beautiful speech, Anna, he said, his voice low. Very thought-provoking. But you must remember, Edenville is everything you need. There's no reason to worry about what's beyond. Anna nodded politely, but the mayor's words only deepened the restlessness in her heart. She glanced again toward the forest at the edge of town, its shadows darker than ever under the afternoon sun. Something was out there, and Anna was more determined than ever to find it. The dining room table was set with meticulous care, as it always was. Crystal glasses reflected the soft glow of the chandelier, and the aroma of roasted chicken, buttery potatoes, and fresh-baked rolls filled the air. Anna's mother, Lila, beamed as she set down the last dish, steamed asparagus drizzled with lemon butter. Only the best for our graduate, Lila said with a warm smile, taking her seat. Everything looks amazing, Mom, Anna said, helping herself to a roll. Her father, Marcus, raised his glass. To Anna, Edenville's brightest star, you've made us so proud, kiddo. Anna blushed as her parents clinked glasses. Thanks, Dad, but it's not just me. Eva and everyone else did great too. Modesty is a fine trait, Marcus said, his tone teasing. But let's not pretend you aren't the talk of the town. I had 3 people stop me today to congratulate me on raising such a perfect daughter. Anna laughed lightly. Maybe they were just being nice. Nonsense, Lila chimed in, passing the asparagus. They adore you. Who wouldn't? You're smart, kind, hard-working. Everything we ever dreamed you'd be. Anna smiled but felt a familiar twinge of unease. The conversation always circled back to how proud they were of her, how perfect she was. Sometimes it felt less like love and more like expectation. As the meal progressed, the conversation turned to the future. So, now that you're officially a graduate, Lila began, her voice bright with curiosity. "What's next for you, Anna? Have you thought about what you want to do?" Anna paused, setting her fork down. "Actually, I have. I've been thinking about going to college." Marcus's face lit up. "College? That's a fantastic idea. Higher education is important. You'll meet new people, learn new things, expand your horizons." Anna's heart lifted at her father's enthusiasm. She'd expected more resistance, but his words gave her hope. Just as Marcus started to elaborate on how proud he was of her ambition, his phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at the screen, frowned, and stood. "Excuse me, just a quick call." He stepped into the next room, leaving Anna and Lila in a sudden, awkward silence. Lila cleared her throat and offered a soft smile. "It's a big step, college, but you've always been brave, Anna. I'm sure you'll do well at whatever you choose." "Thanks, Mom," Anna said, though she sensed an undercurrent of hesitation in her mother's voice. Marcus returned a few minutes later, his expression unreadable. He sat down slowly, his demeanor noticeably changed. "You know," he began, his tone measured, "on second thought, college might not be the best idea right now." Anna blinked, confused. "What? But you just said—" "I know what I said," Marcus interrupted gently. "But after thinking about it, Edenville doesn't have a college. You'd have to leave, and honestly, I'm not sure that's the right path for you." Lila chimed in, her voice soothing. "You're the golden girl of Edenville, Anna. You could have any job you want right here. Why go somewhere else when you already have everything you need?" "But I want to learn more," Anna argued, her voice firm but not raised. "I want to grow and experience the world. Isn't that what education is for?" Marcus exchanged a glance with Lila before replying. "Leaving Edenville might not be what's best for you, Anna. There's no reason to take unnecessary risks." Anna's jaw tightened. "It's not a risk. It's my choice." Her parents fell silent. The tension at the table was palpable, and Anna noticed the nervous looks they exchanged. Dinner ended shortly after, the cheerful atmosphere replaced by an unspoken unease. As Anna helped clear the dishes, she couldn't shake the feeling that her parents weren't just worried, they were hiding something. Anna woke up to the smell of coffee and the faint sound of clinking dishes downstairs. She rubbed her eyes, still feeling the tension from last night's dinner. The conversation about college left her uneasy, but she decided to stay firm in her decision. As she walked into the kitchen, she was greeted by the familiar sight of her mother, pouring orange juice into 3 glasses, and her father flipping through the morning paper. "Good morning, sweetie," Lila said cheerfully. "How'd you sleep?" "Fine, thanks," Anna replied, sliding into her usual seat at the table. Just as she reached for a piece of toast, Marcus grabbed the remote and turned on the television, something that almost never happened during breakfast. "Thought we'd catch the morning headlines," he said casually, though his hand lingered on the volume button, turning it up louder than necessary. Anna raised an eyebrow. Her parents rarely watched TV during meals, let alone with such urgency. The news anchor's voice filled the room. "Good morning, Edenville. In breaking news, the City Council has announced an exciting new initiative, the establishment of Edenville University. That's right, our beloved town will be home to its very own university, offering a full range of academic programs. Enrollment will begin this summer, and classes are set to start in the fall." The screen cut to footage of smiling council members cutting a ribbon in front of a pristine, modern building. The campus looked as polished and perfect as the rest of Edenville. Marcus clapped his hands together. "Well, isn't that just perfect timing?" Lila beamed. "Anna, can you believe it? A university right here in Edenville. It's as if the town knew exactly what you needed." Anna stared at the screen, her fork hovering in midair. "That's great," she said softly, trying to mask her confusion. "More than great," Marcus added, his enthusiasm unwavering. "It's ideal. You'll get a world-class education without ever leaving home." Anna hesitated before responding. "It's a nice option, but—" She glanced at her parents, their eager faces unsettling her. "I've always dreamed of going somewhere else. seeing what's outside of Edenville. Isn't that part of growing up? The room's cheerful atmosphere evaporated. Marcus's smile faltered, and Lila's cheerful demeanor cooled. Anna, her mother said, her voice calm, but with a noticeable edge. You have everything you need here. Why would you even want to leave? It's safer, more comfortable, and better for you to stay. Marcus set his mug down harder than necessary. You're not being practical. The world outside Edenville isn't like it is here. It's unpredictable, chaotic. Why take unnecessary risks when you could have the best of everything right here? Anna frowned. I'm not trying to be difficult. I don't want to feel trapped. There's more to life than this town. Marcus's expression darkened, though he tried to keep his tone measured. Trapped? Anna, that's ridiculous. No one's trapping you. We just want what's best for you. Lila placed a hand on Anna's shoulder, her grip firm. Think of how proud everyone will be when you attend Edenville University. You'll still be the golden girl, shining right here where you belong. Anna looked down at her plate, her appetite gone. The walls of the kitchen seemed to close in on her. For the first time, she felt a genuine crack in her parents' perfect facade, a hint of something controlling and calculated beneath their love. Yeah, Anna said quietly, forcing a small smile. I guess Edenville University would be cool. Her parents exchanged a satisfied glance and continued eating, the tension in the air lingering. As Anna excused herself and stepped outside, the morning sun felt heavy on her skin. The restlessness in her chest was growing stronger, and for the first time, she wondered if her parents' love wasn't just protective, but something far more sinister. The following week, Anna found herself sitting in the pristine admissions office of Edenville University. The walls were painted a soft cream, decorated with framed photos of smiling students and faculty. Everything felt impossibly polished, much like the rest of the town. Anna sat stiffly as her parents beamed at the admissions officer. Anna is an exceptional student, Marcus said proudly. Top of her class, a natural leader, and a role model for everyone in Edenville. Of course, we wouldn't expect anything less, the admissions officer replied, her smile too wide. She'll fit in perfectly here. Anna nodded along, feigning excitement as she filled out the application forms. She knew her parents were watching her every move, their approval hinging on her compliance. But as soon as they left the university office, Anna's mind was elsewhere. That evening, Anna sat in her room with her laptop open. The glow of the screen illuminated her determined expression. She scoured the internet for universities outside Edenville, applying to any that seemed even remotely appealing. Schools in big cities, small towns, and even ones halfway across the world, she didn't care. It felt exhilarating to take this step on her own, to rebel against the invisible walls her parents had built around her. As the weeks passed, Anna eagerly awaited responses. Each day she checked the mail, her heart fluttering with hope. Then, one afternoon, she found her first letter. Her excitement quickly turned to dread when her mother intercepted it. "What's this?" Lila asked, holding the envelope with raised eyebrows. Anna froze, then forced a casual tone. "Oh, just a brochure. I've been looking into some other schools, just to see what's out there." Lila's smile faltered. "Without telling us?" "Anna," Marcus said, stepping into the room, his voice firm. "Why would you do that? We've already made arrangements for Edenville University. There's no need to waste time with these other places." "I just wanted to explore my options," Anna replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Lila opened the envelope and scanned the letter. Her lips curved into a tight smile. "Well, it doesn't matter. They rejected you." Marcus glanced at the letter and chuckled lightly. "See? It's for the best. You belong here." Anna's chest tightened. Over the next few days, more letters arrived, and her parents intercepted them each time. "Another rejection," Lila said with a forced tone of sympathy, handing Anna a crumpled envelope. "Maybe they just don't see your potential like Edenville does," Marcus added. Their loss? The rejection stung deeply. Each letter felt like a door slamming shut on the future she had dreamed of. One evening, Anna sat on her bed surrounded by the rejection letters. Tears streamed down her face as she read the words over and over again. "We regret to inform you." She didn't understand. Her grades were perfect, her extracurriculars outstanding. How could she be turned away from every school she applied to? Her parents' behavior didn't help. They seemed annoyed that she had gone behind their backs, but oddly satisfied with the outcome. "Don't let it get to you, Anna," Lila said one evening. "It's just proof that you're meant to stay here. Everything happens for a reason." Marcus chimed in, his tone smug. "You'll see. Staying here is the best decision you could make. The world out there just isn't ready for someone like you." Anna didn't respond. She felt trapped, the walls of Edenville closing in around her. Deep down, a nagging thought began to take root. Maybe the rejections weren't coincidences. Maybe someone was ensuring she stayed exactly where she was. Anna was startled when she received the call from the mayor's office that morning. "The mayor would like to see you, Anna," the secretary had said with an air of importance. "It's about your future." Her parents had been elated. "See," her mother had said with a smile, "everyone in Edenville is rooting for you. You're special, Anna." Now, as she stood in front of the large oak doors of the mayor's office, she felt a knot of unease. The secretary ushered her inside with a warm smile. "He's just running a few minutes late," she said. "Please, make yourself comfortable." The office was grand, with high ceilings and bookshelves lining the walls. A large desk sat at the far end, flanked by floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a picturesque view of Edenville. Anna sat down in one of the plush chairs, but couldn't shake her curiosity. Her eyes wandered over the room, taking in every detail. Then, something caught her attention. A map pinned to the wall behind the desk. It was a map of Michigan, labeled with cities and towns she vaguely recognized from geography class. She stood and walked toward it, her brow furrowing as she scanned the names: Detroit, Grand Rapids, Traverse City, Lansing. Her eyes searched the western part of the map, near the area where her parents had always said Edenville was located. But no matter how closely she looked, she couldn't find it. Her heart began to race. Was it an oversight? A mistake? She glanced around the office, ensuring she was still alone. On impulse, she pulled the map off the wall, folded it quickly, and stuffed it into her pocket. She'd study it later, when she could think clearly. Just as she returned to her seat, the door opened. The mayor strode in with a broad smile and a firm handshake. "Anna, it's always a pleasure to see Edenville's brightest young star," he said warmly, taking a seat across from her. "I've heard so much about your accomplishments. You've made us all so proud." "Thank you, Mr. Mayor," Anna said politely, though her mind was still on the map. The mayor leaned forward, his tone shifting to something more serious. "So, tell me, Anna, what's next for you? I understand you've been thinking about college." Anna hesitated but decided to be honest. "I want to go to college, yes. I've applied to a few schools, but I keep getting rejected. I don't understand why." The mayor's expression brightened, as if he'd been waiting for this. "Well, Anna, I'm glad you brought that up. It is my honor to tell you that Edenville University has accepted you on a full-ride scholarship. Full tuition, room and board, everything covered. You deserve nothing less." Anna forced a smile. "That's wonderful. Thank you," but inside, she felt anything but thankful. How could it be that Edenville University was so eager to have her, yet no other school in the country seemed to want her? The disconnect gnawed at her, fueling the unease she couldn't shake. "I hope you see this as the opportunity it is," the mayor continued. "A chance to thrive right here in the community that loves and supports you." Anna nodded, her mind elsewhere. She left the mayor's office a short time later, clutching the scholarship packet he'd handed her. As she walked home, the folded map in her pocket felt heavier with every step. Anna sat at her desk, The map of Michigan spread out before her. Her fingers traced the creases as she examined it again, her eyes darting from city to city. She'd scoured every inch of the map, from the Upper Peninsula to the southern border, but no matter how closely she looked, Edenville wasn't there. She leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. Maybe it was just too small to be included, or maybe it was under a different name. But even as she tried to reason it out, the gnawing feeling in her stomach wouldn't let up. "Anna, dinner's ready," her mother called from downstairs. Anna folded the map and tucked it into her desk drawer, her movements deliberate. Tonight, she decided, she wouldn't hold back. At the dinner table, the mood was as cheerful as ever. Lila served plates of roast chicken and mashed potatoes, humming a soft tune. Marcus chatted about his day at work, but Anna barely heard him. She sat quietly, her thoughts swirling, until she couldn't hold it in anymore. "Mom, Dad," she began, her voice steady but firm, "can I ask you something?" Her parents looked at her, their smiles faltering slightly. "Of course, sweetheart," Lila said, her tone light but cautious. "Where exactly is Edenville?" Marcus blinked. "What do you mean? You've lived here your whole life." "I mean," Anna pressed, her voice growing sharper, "why isn't it on the map?" Her parents exchanged a quick glance. "What map?" Marcus asked, his tone too casual. "The one in the mayor's office," Anna said. "I looked at it today. There's no Edenville anywhere on it. How is that possible?" Lila laughed nervously. "Oh, honey, it's probably just an old map. Maybe they haven't updated it to include smaller towns." "Really?" Anna said, crossing her arms. "Then why is every other town on there? Even one smaller than Edenville?" Her mother's hands fidgeted in her lap, and her father's jaw tightened. "It's nothing to worry about," Marcus said firmly. "Maps don't always show everything. You're overthinking it." Anna leaned forward, her voice growing more insistent. "And why have I never been outside of Edenville? Not even to a nearby city? Why is it that every time I ask about leaving, you shut me down?" "Anna," Lila began, but Anna cut her off. "And why did every other college reject me? You always told me I was good enough to go anywhere. So why can't I?" Her parents' faces paled, their perfect facade cracking with every word she spoke. "Anna," Marcus said, his voice strained, "you're letting your imagination get the best of you." "No," Anna said, her voice rising, "I'm not. Something isn't right, and you know it. I can feel it." Before either parent could respond, a deafening siren blared through the house. The sound was shrill and unrelenting, cutting through the tension like a knife. "What's that?" Anna asked, startled. "It's the tornado siren," Lila said quickly, standing up. "We need to get to the basement, now." Marcus grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the stairs. "Come on, Anna. No time to waste." The three of them hurried to the basement, where a small steel door led to a secure tornado shelter. "In here," Marcus said, opening the door and motioning for Anna to step inside. She hesitated, looking back at them. "Aren't you coming?" "There's only room for one," Lila said, her voice calm but firm. "We'll be fine out here. You need to stay safe." "What? That doesn't make any sense," Anna protested. "Anna, please," Marcus said, his voice urgent. "We'll come get you as soon as it's safe." Before she could argue further, they pushed her gently but firmly into the shelter. "Wait," she started, but the door slammed shut, and she heard the click of a lock. "Mom? Dad?" she called, pounding on the door. "Let me out." No answer came, just the faint sound of her parents' footsteps retreating. Anna's fists banged against the metal door until they ached, but it didn't budge. Exhausted, she slid down the wall and sat on the cold floor. Her breathing was shaky as her mind replayed the evening's events. The questions, the siren, her parents' nervous faces. None of it added up. As silence enveloped her, one thought rose above the rest, chilling her to the core. What is Edenville, really? Utopia. Chapter 2. Anna leaned her head against the cold steel wall of the storm shelter, her arms wrapped tightly around her knees. The small, dim space was suffocating, the only sound the soft hum of air circulating through a tiny vent. She had no sense of time, but guessed it had been at least 2 hours since her parents had locked her inside. Her mind replayed the events of the night over and over, each piece fitting awkwardly into the larger puzzle she'd been trying to solve. The map, the evasive answers, the tension in her parents' voices. Why isn't Edenville on the map? Why do they act like leaving this place is unthinkable? And why did they lock me in here? She stared at the floor, frustration building with every unanswered question. For the first time in her life, Anna felt like a stranger in her own home, in her own town. The walls she had never noticed before, the boundaries of her perfect life, were suddenly too close, too rigid. Finally, she heard the faint sound of the lock clicking. The door creaked open, and her father's face appeared, a nervous smile plastered across it. "Anna, sweetheart," Marcus said, his voice overly cheerful. "The storm has passed. You can come out now." Anna exited the shelter slowly, her eyes narrowing. "What storm?" she snapped, brushing past him. Her mother stood at the top of the basement stairs, wringing her hands. "We didn't want to scare you," Lila began, her voice gentle. "It was just a precaution." Anna stormed up the stairs and into the living room, her anger bubbling over. She threw open the front door and stepped outside, expecting to see fallen branches, overturned trash cans, something, anything, to indicate a storm had passed. Instead, the neighborhood was as pristine as ever. The trees were perfectly upright, the lawns immaculate, not a single leaf out of place. The streetlights cast their usual warm glow, and in the distance, she could hear the faint hum of someone mowing their lawn. She spun around to face her parents, who had followed her outside. "This is ridiculous," Anna said, her voice trembling with anger. "There's no storm. There wasn't even a breeze." Her father's face tightened. "Anna, don't be dramatic. Tornadoes can be unpredictable. It might not have hit here directly, but nothing," Anna shouted. "You locked me in that shelter for no reason. Do you know how insane that is?" "Anna," her mother said soothingly, reaching out a hand, "we just wanted to keep you safe." "Safe from what?" Anna demanded. "The imaginary tornado? Or the truth you're so desperate to keep from me?" Her parents froze, their faces pale. For a moment, the perfect facade they always wore seemed to crack. "Enough," Marcus said firmly, his tone low and final. "You're tired. It's been a long day. Let's not turn this into something it isn't." Anna crossed her arms, glaring at them. "You always do this," she said bitterly. "You change the subject, distract me, act like I'm crazy." "Well, I'm not crazy. Something is wrong, and you both know it." Her mother opened her mouth to respond, but seemed to think better of it. Instead, she forced a smile and gestured toward the house. "Come inside, Anna. Let's all get some rest." Anna hesitated, her fists clenched, before reluctantly stepping back inside. But as she climbed the stairs to her room, she made a silent vow. "They can dodge my questions all they want. I'm going to find out the truth about Edenville, whether they like it or not." Anna sat on the paper-covered examination table in Dr. Elias's office, her legs swinging slightly. The familiar, sterile scent of the room was oddly comforting, a constant in a world that was beginning to feel anything but. Dr. Elias walked in, his white coat swishing as he carried a clipboard. His graying hair and warm smile had always put her at ease. "Well, there's my favorite patient," he said with a chuckle. "How's the valedictorian doing today?" "Hi, Dr. Elias," Anna said, managing a small smile. The checkup proceeded as usual. He measured her height and weight, listened to her heart and lungs, and checked her reflexes. Everything about his manner was friendly and professional, just as it had been for the past 18 years. "Well, Anna," Dr. Elias said as he finished making notes on her chart, "you're as healthy as ever. Nothing to worry about." "Thanks," Anna said, hopping off the table. She hesitated for a moment, then decided to press him. "Dr. Elias, can I ask you something?" "Of course," he said, sitting down in the chair across from her. "What's on your mind?" Anna bit her lip, choosing her words carefully. Do you ever feel like Edenville is too perfect? Dr. Elias tilted his head, his expression curious. Too perfect? What do you mean? I mean, nothing ever goes wrong here, Anna said. No one gets sick, no one fights, nothing bad ever happens. It's like it's not real. Dr. Elias's smile faltered for a fraction of a second before returning. Well, Anna, I think that just means we're lucky to live in such a well-run community. Good leadership, good people. That's what makes Edenville special. But why doesn't anyone ever leave? Anna pressed. Why aren't we on any maps? Why can't I go to college outside of here? Dr. Elias's friendly demeanor wavered. He leaned back in his chair, clasping his hands. Anna, I understand you have questions, but sometimes the answers aren't as mysterious as they seem. Edenville is your home. It's where you're meant to thrive. That doesn't answer my question, Anna said, her tone sharper. Anna, he said gently, I've known you since the day you were born. You're an exceptional young woman, but don't let curiosity lead you to doubt the good things in your life. Edenville is a gift. Anna studied his face, searching for any crack in his carefully constructed response. You're hiding something, she said softly. Dr. Elias's smile tightened. Anna, I'm your doctor. My job is to keep you healthy and happy, that's all. Unsatisfied, Anna nodded and stood up. Thanks, doctor, she said, her voice clipped. Take care, Anna, he replied, his tone as warm as ever. As Anna walked down the hall toward the waiting room, she heard voices coming from a nearby office. She recognized Doctor Elias's voice, low and calm as always, but the second voice made her freeze. It was the mayor. She inched closer to the door, keeping to the shadows. I'm telling you, she's starting to ask questions, Dr. Elias said, his tone measured but firm. She's too curious, the mayor replied, his voice sharp. We can't afford for her to dig any deeper. She's just a teenager, Dr. Elias said. Let her figure things out on her own. She doesn't need interference. The mayor's voice lowered, and Anna had to strain to hear. You know what's at stake, Elias. If she... The rest was muffled, but Anna caught fragments. The project, containment, for her own good. Her heart pounded as she pressed herself against the wall. She's fine, Dr. Elias said firmly. She doesn't need to be micromanaged. Let her live her life. Keep me updated, the mayor said, his tone icy. She's too important for mistakes. Footsteps approached the door, and Anna quickly stepped back, pretending to scroll through her phone. Dr. Elias emerged first, his face troubled, followed by the mayor, who didn't even glance her way as he strode down the hall. Anna's mind raced as she left the building. It wasn't just her parents. The mayor, Dr. Elias, maybe even the entire town. They were all hiding something. As she walked home, one thing became terrifyingly clear. Edenville's perfection wasn't natural, it was controlled. The afternoon sun bathed the park in warm light as Anna sat on the swing, absent-mindedly pushing herself back and forth. She'd texted Eva to meet her here, needing someone to talk to. Her mind was still spinning from what she'd overheard at Dr. Elias's office, and she didn't trust herself to process it alone. Eva arrived a few minutes later, her cheerful smile lighting up the space between them. She was wearing her signature denim jacket and a yellow sundress, her dark curls bouncing as she walked. Hey, Anna, Eva said, plopping down on the swing next to her. What's up? You sounded stressed in your text. Anna hesitated, unsure where to begin. Eva was her best friend, the one person in Edenville she felt she could truly trust. They'd been inseparable since they were kids, from sleepovers to study sessions to late-night talks about their dreams. If there was anyone Anna could confide in, it was Eva. I just needed to clear my head, Anna said, looking down at her feet as she dug them into the gravel. Okay, Eva said, studying her. You're scaring me a little. Spill, Anna smiled faintly. It's nothing bad, or maybe it is, I don't know. Anna, come on, Eva said, nudging her with her foot. You know I'm not going to let you sit here brooding. Just tell me. Anna took a deep breath. Do you ever feel like things in Edenville are too good to be true? Eva tilted her head, her expression thoughtful. Well, it is pretty perfect. But isn't that a good thing? I used to think so, Anna admitted, but lately it feels off. Like there's something people aren't telling me. Like what? Anna hesitated, glancing around the empty park. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. I found a map at the mayor's office. Edenville wasn't on it. And then, at my doctor's appointment, I overheard him and the mayor talking about me. About how I'm important somehow. Eva's brows furrowed. That's weird, she said, her tone neutral. Right? Anna said, her voice rising slightly. And it's not just that. My parents have been acting strange, like they're trying to keep me here no matter what. Eva reached out and placed a reassuring hand on Anna's arm. Anna, that does sound strange, but maybe there's an explanation. Maybe they're just being overprotective. It's more than that, Anna said, shaking her head. I can feel it. There's something about Edenville that isn't real. And I need to figure out what it is. Eva leaned back slightly, her eyes narrowing in thought. For a moment, she said nothing, and Anna felt a pang of doubt. Finally, Eva smiled, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. If you feel like something's wrong, then you should figure it out. You're the smartest person I know, Anna. If anyone can get to the bottom of this, it's you. Anna felt a flicker of relief, but also something else, an unease she couldn't quite place. Eva's words were supportive, but her tone felt calculated, as though she were choosing her words carefully. Thanks, Eva, Anna said softly. Of course, Eva replied, her smile widening. Just be careful, okay? Sometimes when we dig for answers, we find things we're not ready to handle. Anna nodded, though her unease lingered. I will. As they sat together, watching the sun dip lower in the sky, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that her world was shifting beneath her feet. Anna sat at her desk, her laptop humming softly. The late-night quiet of her bedroom should have been comforting, but her mind was racing. She typed Edenville history into the search bar and hit enter. For a moment, the screen loaded as normal, and she leaned forward in anticipation. Then, without warning, the connection dropped. Error. Unable to connect to the internet. She frowned, refreshing the page. Nothing. Sighing in frustration, she closed the laptop and waited a few minutes before trying again. This time, she tried searching Edenville origins. Again, her internet cut out the moment she hit enter. What the hell? She muttered. The pattern continued for days. Every time she searched for anything remotely related to Edenville, her internet would mysteriously disconnect. When she searched unrelated terms, like recipes or movies, it worked perfectly fine. It wasn't just the internet. When she tried the public library, the shelves seemed to lack any meaningful history books about the town. She asked the librarian about records or archives, but they claimed Edenville had no need for them. Everything important had been perfectly preserved in the town's collective memory. Strange, Anna said, forcing a polite smile as she walked away, empty-handed yet again. The weeks turned into months. Every attempt to learn about Edenville seemed to hit a dead end. The locals were pleasant, but when Anna casually brought up the town's history, they either changed the subject or gave her rehearsed, surface-level answers. Her suspicion grew like a shadow, creeping into every corner of her life. The shopkeepers, her neighbors, even her parents, all of them started to feel less like people and more like robots. By the time summer was drawing to a close, Anna's frustration had reached a boiling point. She needed answers, and she was running out of places to look. One evening, she called Eva to meet her at their favorite coffee shop. It was one of the few places in Edenville where Anna felt even a sliver of normalcy. Eva arrived promptly, as always, sliding into the booth across from Anna with a warm smile. "You look like you haven't slept in weeks," Eva said, her tone teasing. "What's going on?" "I've been researching," Anna said carefully. Researching what? Edenville, Anna admitted, studying Eva's reaction. Eva's smile faltered, but only for a second. Edenville? Why? Anna hesitated. I feel like there's more to this place than we've been told. And every time I try to find out, something blocks me. It's like the whole town is hiding something. Eva sipped her coffee thoughtfully, her eyes fixed on Anna. That's a big accusation, she said lightly, but there was an edge to her tone. I know, Anna said, leaning forward. But I can't shake the feeling that something's wrong. You don't feel it too? Eva didn't answer right away. Instead, she glanced around the coffee shop as if making sure no one was listening. Then she leaned in closer. You ever think about the mayor's office? She asked. Anna frowned. What about it? Eva hesitated again, then smiled. It's just, if I were you, I'd start there. He's the one running the show, isn't he? The comment seemed casual, but it struck Anna like a lightning bolt. You're right, Anna said slowly, her mind already racing. He is. Just be careful, Eva added, her voice soft. You don't want to get in trouble. As they left the coffee shop, Anna couldn't help but feel both grateful and uneasy. Eva had given her the breakthrough she needed, but a question lingered in the back of her mind. How did Eva know what to suggest? The cool night air bit at Anna's skin as she crouched in the bushes outside the mayor's office. Her pulse was a wild drumbeat in her ears, and every rustle of leaves felt deafening. The building loomed before her, its dark windows reflecting the faint glow of the streetlights. She clutched a flashlight in one hand and her phone in the other, its screen dark to avoid drawing attention. This was the first time in her life she'd ever broken the rules, and the thrill of it was almost drowned out by her fear of being caught. Anna had waited until the late-night cleaning staff left, watching from the shadows. Now the building was silent, the perfect opportunity. Okay, Anna, she whispered to herself, steeling her nerves. Just in and out, find something. Anything. She darted across the small courtyard, her sneakers silent on the concrete. The back door was locked, but she'd expected that. From her research, what little she could do without triggering suspicion, she'd learned that older buildings like this sometimes had faulty windows. She crept along the side of the building, testing each one. On the third try, the window shifted slightly under her touch. Holding her breath, she pushed it open just enough to squeeze through. The mayor's office was on the second floor, but the building's interior was eerily quiet. The faint hum of a vending machine down the hall was the only sound as Anna tiptoed up the stairs, her flashlight pointed downward to avoid detection. When she reached the mayor's office, she hesitated. The door loomed like a guardian of secrets, and for a moment she questioned whether she was really ready to do this. But the memory of the map in her pocket, the map that erased her entire existence, spurred her forward. The handle turned easily, and she slipped inside, closing the door softly behind her. The office was just as she remembered it, a large desk, bookshelves filled with meaningless decorations, and the faint scent of polished wood. The darkness made it feel more oppressive, as though the room itself were alive and watching her. Anna moved quickly but methodically, opening drawers and flipping through papers. Most of them were mundane, budget reports, meeting agendas, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something important was hidden here. Her heart leapt when she found a locked drawer. She pulled at it, but it wouldn't budge. Of course, she muttered, her voice barely audible. She rifled through the other drawers, searching for a key. After what felt like an eternity, she found one taped under the desk. Gotcha, she whispered. She inserted the key into the lock, her hands trembling. The drawer slid open with a metallic click, revealing a folder marked Project Eden in bold letters. Her eyes widened. This was it. She reached for the folder. The sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway. Anna froze, her hand hovering over the drawer. The footsteps grew louder, more distinct, and she realized with horror that they were heading straight for the office. Panic surged through her. She grabbed the folder and looked around frantically. The closet. It was her only option. She shoved the folder into her bag and slipped into the closet, closing the door just as the office door creaked open. Through the thin slats of the closet door, Anna could see the mayor enter the room. He didn't turn on the lights, but his silhouette was unmistakable. He moved to the desk, his movements brisk and purposeful. Anna clamped a hand over her mouth, her breathing shallow and rapid. She willed herself to stay silent, even as her heart threatened to pound its way out of her chest. The mayor muttered something under his breath as he opened a drawer. Anna couldn't make out the words, but his tone was sharp, almost angry. He rummaged for a moment, then straightened abruptly. "Not here," he said, his voice low but clear. Anna's stomach turned. He was looking for the folder. The mayor lingered for another minute before stepping out of the office, shutting the door behind him. Anna stayed frozen, every muscle in her body tense. Just when she thought it was safe to leave, she heard faint voices outside the office. "She's asking too many questions," the mayor said, his voice fading as he walked away. "We need to keep her in line." Anna's blood ran cold. The voices faded, leaving behind an unsettling silence. Anna stayed rooted in place for a moment longer, her breath shallow as she strained to hear any lingering sounds. Finally, she felt it was safe. With trembling hands, she reached for the closet door and pushed it open, only to stop dead in her tracks. This wasn't a closet. The space beyond was dimly lit, the faint hum of fluorescent lights overhead casting a sterile glow. It was a hallway, the walls bare concrete, leading downward at a slight incline. The air was cool and carried the faint scent of motor oil and metal. Anna's heart pounded as she stepped cautiously into the passageway, the realization sinking in that she'd stumbled onto something she was never meant to see. The tunnel stretched on endlessly, the sound of her footsteps echoing around her. The farther she walked, the larger the space seemed to grow. The walls widened, opening into an expansive underground complex that looked like a cross between a parking garage and a storage facility. Rows of cars were lined up neatly, their polished surfaces gleaming under the industrial lights. But these weren't like the sleek, modest vehicles she saw around Edenville. These were different, older, larger, and covered in logos and names she didn't recognize. Anna ran her hand over the hood of one car, her fingers brushing against a layer of dust. It felt as though these vehicles had been parked here for years, forgotten in the shadows. "What is this place?" she whispered, her voice swallowed by the cavernous space. She moved deeper into the underground, her eyes darting around at the strange assortment of items stacked along the walls. Boxes labeled with strange codes, machinery she didn't recognize, even racks of clothing, the styles completely out of place for Edenville. The deeper she ventured, the more surreal it became. This place was enormous, a hidden world beneath the perfect surface of her hometown. Anna's exploration eventually brought her to a door at the far end of the complex. It was heavy and industrial, with a keypad lock beside it. To her surprise, the door creaked open when she pushed it, revealing a smaller, more controlled space. The room was filled with monitors, their screens glowing faintly in the dim light. Cameras, dozens of them. Anna's stomach turned as she stepped closer and realized what she was seeing. Each screen displayed a live feed of Edenville, the park, the town square, the streets outside her high school, even the inside of her own home. Her hand flew to her mouth as she stared at the screens in horror. How long had this been going on? How had she never noticed? On the far side of the room, rows of filing cabinets stretched along the wall, each drawer labeled with neat, uniform letters. Anna's curiosity overpowered her fear. She walked to the cabinets, her fingers trembling as she pulled open one of the drawers. Inside were rows of manila folders, each labeled with a name. Her heart stopped when she found her own name. She pulled the folder out and opened it on a nearby table. The first thing she saw was a photograph of herself, taken only a few months ago. Below it was a sheet of paper filled with detailed information. Her birthday, her height, her medical history, even her daily schedule. She flipped through the pages, each one more invasive than the last. Then she found a document that made her blood run cold. It was a record of her family. Her parents' names were listed at the top, but they weren't the names she knew. Instead of Lila and Marcus Daniels, the document listed Victor and Evelyn Gray. Anna stared at the names, her mind reeling. Who were these people? If they were her biological parents, then who were the people she'd called Mom and Dad her entire life? The next page offered no comfort. It was filled with ominous notes. Subject must remain in Edenville. Do not allow contact with outside world. All inquiries about family history to be deflected. Her hands shook as she read the words. Her entire life had been a lie, meticulously controlled by people she didn't even know. She slammed the folder shut, her mind racing. She needed answers, but more than that, she needed to get out of this room before someone found her. Anna shoved the folder into her bag and hurried back through the maze of the underground complex. Every shadow seemed to move, every sound made her jump. When she finally emerged into the night air, she was gasping for breath. The town above looked as pristine and tranquil as ever, a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in her mind. This wasn't over, not even close. But now Anna knew one thing for certain. Edenville wasn't just hiding secrets. Edenville was a secret. Utopia. Chapter 3. Anna sat cross-legged on her bedroom floor, the folder spread open in front of her. Papers were scattered everywhere, each one more confusing than the last. She had spent hours poring over the documents she had stolen from the underground room, but the picture they painted was still incomplete. The words on the pages blurred together as her mind raced to make sense of it all. Her biological parents, Victor and Evelyn Gray, names she'd never heard before. Notes about her life that felt clinical and detached, as if she was some kind of project. And the ominous directive, subject must remain in Edenville. What does it all mean? She whispered to herself, her voice thick with frustration. She picked up one of the documents, a timeline of events related to her upbringing. It listed her birth, her arrival in Edenville, and a few key moments in her life, her first day of school, her high school graduation. But entire sections were missing, marked only with blacked-out lines or vague notes like classified information. Anna leaned back against her bed, staring at the ceiling. Why would they hide this from me? What are they so afraid I'll find out? Her gaze drifted to the photo of her adoptive parents on her nightstand. For the first time, she felt a pang of anger when she looked at them. They had been part of this lie, part of the system that had kept her in the dark her entire life. The more she thought about it, the more questions she had. Who were Victor and Evelyn Gray? Why had she been placed in Edenville? And why had the entire town been designed to keep her here, surrounded by people who monitored her every move? She returned to the folder, flipping through the pages for the 100th time. There were medical records detailing her health in painstaking detail, blood tests, psychological evaluations, even reports on her dietary habits. But again, the timeline was incomplete, with huge gaps that left her wondering what was being hidden. One note caught her eye. Subject exhibits no inherited traits. Continued observation necessary. Anna frowned. Inherited traits? What traits? She pushed the thought aside for now. There was too much to process, and every lead seemed to create more questions than answers. As the hours dragged on, Anna felt a gnawing sense of urgency. The walls of her bedroom seemed to close in around her, the town outside feeling more like a prison than ever before. She needed to find out more, but where could she go? The underground complex was too risky to revisit, and her parents had clearly been lying to her for years. She considered Dr. Elias, but quickly dismissed the idea. If he was in contact with the mayor, he was probably part of this conspiracy too. Her thoughts turned to Eva. Eva had encouraged her to dig deeper, even dropping that cryptic hint about the mayor's office. Maybe she knew more than she was letting on. But could she be trusted? Anna sighed and closed the folder, stuffing the papers back into her bag. If she was going to figure this out, she couldn't do it alone. And for now, Eva was her only option. As the first light of dawn crept through her window, Anna made up her mind. She'd meet with Eva after college orientation and see if her friend could help her piece together the puzzle. But as she climbed into bed, one thought lingered in her mind, keeping sleep at bay. If the entire town was in on this, how far would they go to stop her from finding the truth? Anna sat on the edge of Eva's bed, the bag of stolen files clutched tightly in her lap. The room, usually a safe haven full of warmth and laughter, felt unnervingly small. Eva perched cross-legged across from her, her expression unreadable as she waited for Anna to explain. "Okay," Anna began, pulling the folder out and setting it between them. "I need to show you something, but you have to promise me. You can't tell anyone." Eva tilted her head, her usual carefree smile flickering for a moment before returning. "Of course. You know I've got your back." Anna hesitated, then flipped open the folder. Pages of documents, medical charts, and photographs spilled out, revealing the labyrinth of secrets she'd uncovered. Eva's smile faltered as she leaned forward, her fingers brushing lightly over the papers. What is all this?" "It's about me," Anna said, her voice shaking. "And Edenville. These files, everything I thought I knew about my life. It's all a lie." Eva picked up a sheet of paper, her eyes scanning the neatly typed lines. "Your parents," she murmured. "Victor and Evelyn Gray. I thought your parents were named Lila and Marcus." "Exactly," Anna said bitterly. "They're not my real parents. They're just, I don't even know. Caretakers, pretenders. They've been lying to me my whole life." Eva didn't respond right away. Her hand trembled slightly as she picked up another page, her brow furrowing deeper with each line she read. "Ava," Anna said cautiously, noticing her friend's sudden silence. "Are you okay?" Ava looked up, her eyes glinting with something Anna couldn't quite place. "This is huge," she said finally, her voice low. "I mean, if this is true, if all of this is real." She trailed off, shaking her head. "Anna, you have to keep going. This is just the beginning." "I know," Anna said, "but it's like, every time I get close to figuring something out, I hit a wall. There's so much missing, Eva. It's like they're hiding the most important pieces from me." Eva set the paper down and clasped Anna's hands in hers. "Then you need to dig deeper." Anna blinked. "Deeper?" Eva nodded, her grip tightening. "If this is what you found just by sneaking into the mayor's office, imagine what else is out there. You've barely scratched the surface, Anna. The rabbit hole goes so much deeper than this." There was something in Eva's voice, a strange intensity that sent a chill down Anna's spine. "You think so?" Anna asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I know so," Eva said firmly. Her eyes darted back to the papers, then back to Anna. "But you have to be careful. If they're keeping this from you, they'll do anything to stop you from finding out more." Anna swallowed hard, the weight of Eva's words sinking in. I don't know who to trust anymore." "You can trust me," Eva said quickly, too quickly. "You've always been able to trust me." Anna studied her friend's face, searching for the warmth and familiarity she'd always known. It was still there, but beneath it, something had shifted. Something she couldn't quite name. Eva let go of her hands and leaned back, her smile returning. So, what's the plan? How are you going to figure out the rest? Anna hesitated. I don't know yet. I guess I'll start by... Whatever you do, Eva interrupted, her tone strangely forceful. Don't stop. If you stop now, they win. You have to see this through, Anna, no matter what it takes. Her words hung in the air, heavy with an urgency that made Anna's stomach churn. I will, Anna said finally, though the words felt hollow. Eva's smile widened. Good, because you deserve to know the truth. All of it. As they packed up the files and parted ways, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Eva's encouragement had seemed genuine, but there was an edge to her demeanor, a flicker of something Anna didn't recognize. For the first time, Anna wondered if even her best friend might not be who she seemed. The paranoia began the moment Anna left Eva's house. It started small, a lingering glance from a neighbor, a fleeting whisper from across the street. At first, Anna thought she was imagining it, but as the days passed, it became impossible to ignore. People in Edenville weren't acting normal. At the grocery store, Mrs. Callahan, the cheerful baker who had always greeted Anna with cookies and hugs, now watched her with unblinking eyes, her usual warmth replaced by an eerie silence. At the park, the group of teenagers who always played basketball fell quiet when Anna walked past, their heads turning in unison to follow her every move. Even her parents were different. Her father's jokes had grown strained, his laughter hollow. Her mother barely looked her in the eye, her smile too wide, too forced. Anna tried to brush it off, but the feeling of being watched was suffocating. One evening, as Anna sat in her room, scrolling through her laptop, she noticed something odd. The little green light next to her webcam was on, even though she hadn't opened any apps that used it. Her heart raced as she slammed the laptop shut. They're watching me. She decided to test her theory. Walking to the window, she peered through the blinds. At first, the street outside looked as ordinary as ever. But then she saw it, a black car parked across the street. It wasn't one of the familiar vehicles she'd grown up seeing in Edenville, and it hadn't moved in 3 days. Anna's paranoia deepened. She started noticing tiny cameras mounted on streetlights that hadn't been there before. A faint clicking noise echoed through the vents in her room at night, like a microphone adjusting. The final straw came at the diner. Anna had gone there for a milkshake, hoping to clear her head. She sat in her usual booth and tried to focus on the menu. But when the waitress came over, Anna froze. It wasn't Cheryl, the woman who'd worked there for as long as Anna could remember. Instead, it was a stranger, a tall, pale man with a blank expression. "What can I get you?" he asked in a monotone voice. "Where's Cheryl?" Anna asked. The man didn't blink. "She's on vacation." Anna's stomach churned. Cheryl had never taken a vacation in her life. "I'll just have a vanilla milkshake," Anna said cautiously. The man nodded and disappeared into the kitchen. When he returned, he placed the milkshake in front of her without a word. Anna stared at it, her appetite gone. Her eyes darted around the diner. The other patrons were eating and chatting as usual, but something was off. Their conversations were too rehearsed, their laughter too synchronized. Anna stood abruptly and left, leaving the milkshake untouched. As she stepped outside, she felt the weight of countless eyes on her. Back at home, Anna locked herself in her room and pulled out the files she'd taken from the mayor's office. She spread them out on her bed, determined to find answers despite the growing surveillance. But even in her room, she felt watched. She glanced at the air vent, then at her laptop, the little green light haunting her. This is what they want, she thought. They want me to feel trapped. The next day, things escalated. As Anna walked to the library, she noticed the black car following her. It stayed a few blocks back, but it was always there, its windows tinted so dark she couldn't see who was inside. At the library, she tried to use one of the computers to search for anything about Edenville, but every search she typed returned the same message. Access denied. Her frustration boiled over. She slammed her hands on the keyboard, drawing the attention of the librarian. "Everything okay, dear?" the librarian asked, her voice too sweet. Anna forced a smile. "Yeah, just a glitch." The librarian didn't move. She stood there watching, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Anna logged off and left, her heart pounding. That night, as she lay in bed, she heard a faint hum outside her window. Crawling to the edge of the bed, she peeked through the blinds. A drone hovered just outside, its red light blinking steadily. Anna's breath hitched. She backed away slowly, her mind racing. "They're not just watching me," she realized. "They're hunting me." The days blurred together. Everywhere Anna went, the cameras followed. Strangers appeared in places they didn't belong. Conversation stopped when she entered a room. Eva tried to comfort her, but even her reassurances felt hollow. "You're imagining things," Eva said with a nervous laugh. "Edenville is the safest place in the world. No one would hurt you." But Anna saw through the cracks in her friend's facade. Even Eva was hiding something. The turning point came when Anna found a note slipped under her door. It was written in blocky, unfamiliar handwriting. "Stop asking questions, or there will be consequences." Anna stared at the note, her hands trembling. The walls of Edenville were closing in on her, and she realized she had to act before it was too late. She had to find the truth, no matter the cost. Anna had been growing increasingly cautious, aware that every move she made was being scrutinized, but she never thought her best friend Eva would be the one to betray her. It happened late one evening. Anna had been sneaking out more often, trying to avoid the ever-watchful eyes of Edenville. This time, she ventured to an old storage building near the edge of town, a place she'd never noticed before. Eva had casually mentioned it during their last conversation. "Maybe you'll find something interesting there," Eva had said with a sly smile, as though she were encouraging Anna's rebellion. At the time, Anna thought Eva was trying to help her. Now she wasn't so sure. The storage building was eerily quiet, its windows fogged and its doors rusted from years of neglect. Anna picked the lock, a skill she'd taught herself over the past few weeks, and stepped inside. The air was damp and heavy, filled with the faint scent of mildew. Rows of file cabinets and dusty shelves stretched out before her. Anna felt her pulse quicken. If there was anything useful to find, it would be here. She began rifling through the cabinets, her fingers flipping through old papers and faded photographs. Most of it seemed inconsequential: inventory lists, maintenance schedules, blueprints of Edenville's infrastructure. But then she found it, a folder marked with her name. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were records of her medical history, psychological evaluations, and reports detailing her interactions with the townspeople. The most chilling part was a recent entry, dated just a few days prior, describing her growing paranoia and rebellious tendencies. "They've been tracking everything," she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible. But before she could delve further, the sound of approaching footsteps froze her in place. She quickly shoved the folder into her backpack and crouched behind a shelf, holding her breath. A flashlight beam swept across the room. "Search everywhere," a gruff voice commanded. Anna's heart pounded in her chest as the footsteps grew louder. She peeked through a crack in the shelf and saw two men in black uniforms scanning the area. "How did they know I was here?" she thought, panic rising. She stayed perfectly still, praying they wouldn't find her. After a tense few minutes, the men moved toward the exit. "She's not here," one of them said. "Let's sweep the perimeter." As soon as they were gone, Anna bolted for the back door, slipping out into the night. She ran as fast as she could, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. Her mind raced with questions. How had they known she was there? By the time Anna made it home, she was drenched in sweat and shaking. She locked her bedroom door and pulled out the folder, spreading its contents across her desk. But she couldn't focus. One thought kept gnawing at her. The only person she'd told about the storage building was Eva. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Eva had betrayed her. The next day, Anna confronted Eva in the park, where they often met. Eva greeted her with her usual cheerful demeanor, but Anna could see the cracks beneath her smile. "You set me up," Anna said, her voice trembling with anger. Eva blinked, feigning confusion. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb," Anna snapped. "I told you about the storage building, and suddenly they knew exactly where to find me. You're the only person I trusted with that." Eva's face faltered for a moment before she plastered on a sympathetic expression. "Anna, I would never—" "Stop lying," Anna shouted, drawing the attention of a few passers-by. "You've been feeding them information, haven't you? You've been working for them this whole time." Eva's eyes darted around, her voice lowering to a whisper. "You need to calm down, Anna. People are watching." "I don't care," Anna said, her voice cracking. "You were supposed to be my friend." For a brief moment, guilt flickered across Eva's face, but it was quickly replaced by a cold, calculated expression. "You don't understand, Anna," she said. "It's not what you think." "Then explain it to me," Anna demanded. Eva hesitated, her lips pressing into a thin line. "You're getting too close to things you shouldn't know. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me?" Anna scoffed. "You sold me out." Eva stepped closer, lowering her voice further. "You have no idea what you're up against. If you keep pushing, they'll destroy you." Anna took a step back, her heart breaking. "You're just like them." Eva's expression softened for a moment, but she quickly turned and walked away, leaving Anna standing alone in the park. As Anna watched her friend disappear into the distance, she felt a mix of betrayal and determination. Whatever Eva's role was in this twisted game, it only solidified one thing. Anna was on her own, and she would find the truth, no matter the cost. Anna had been wandering through the town square when she spotted Dr. Elias exiting the cafe, a paper cup in hand. Despite everything, she decided to act normal. She gave him a warm smile, waving as she approached. "Dr. Elias, fancy seeing you here," she said casually, though her heart was racing. He returned the smile, though it seemed more strained than usual. "Anna, good to see you. How are you feeling these days?" She shrugged, trying to seem at ease. "Same as always, nothing new." "That's good," he said, his tone almost too neutral, "but we need to talk." Anna's stomach sank. "About what?" Dr. Elias reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, amber-colored prescription bottle. The white label bore her name in bold letters, along with dosage instructions and a nondescript medical logo she didn't recognize. "These are for you," he said, extending the bottle toward her. Anna hesitated, her brow furrowing. "I don't understand. The last time I saw you, you said I was in perfect health." Dr. Elias's eyes darted around the square, scanning for onlookers. "Things change," he said quietly. "Just trust me on this." She reluctantly took the bottle, its weight feeling heavier than it should. "What are they for?" "They're for your well-being," he said cryptically. Then, leaning closer, he added in a hushed tone, "It's best to take them at night when it's dark and no one's around. Do you understand?" Anna's heart raced. "What do you mean by that?" Dr. Elias straightened, his professional demeanor snapping back into place. "Just follow the instructions. Trust me, Anna." He gave her a faint smile and walked away, leaving her standing there, clutching the bottle. That night, Anna sat cross-legged on her bed, staring at the bottle under the dim light of her bedside lamp. She turned it over in her hands, her mind racing with questions. Why would Dr. Elias prescribe her something without explanation? And why the secrecy? Finally, she unscrewed the cap and peered inside. The faint chemical smell of pills wafted out, but something else caught her eye. Nestled among the tablets was a folded piece of paper. Her pulse quickened as she tipped the contents onto her bedspread, carefully unfolding the note. In hurried, almost frantic handwriting, the note read, "Anna, do not take these pills. Dispose of them discreetly. Meet me tomorrow night, 10 p.m., at the old greenhouse on the outskirts of town. Tell no one. It's time you knew the truth." Her breath hitched as she read the message. Dr. Elias was trying to help her, but why this way? What truth could be so dangerous that it required this level of secrecy? She carefully placed the pills back into the bottle, rescrewing the cap tightly. Sliding the bottle and note under her pillow, she turned off the light and lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling. Her mind swirled with possibilities and fears. If Dr. Elias was risking so much to help her, then the answers she sought might be far more dangerous than she'd ever imagined. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. The old greenhouse loomed in the darkness, its glass panels smeared with grime, and vines crawling over its frame like veins. Anna stepped carefully through the overgrown grass, her heart pounding in her chest. The faint glow of her phone's flashlight guided her as she pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. "Doctor, Elias?" she whispered into the shadows. "Over here," came his familiar voice, hushed but steady. She found him standing near a table cluttered with old gardening tools and wilted plants. His face was drawn, his usually calm demeanor strained. He held a manila folder in his hands, his grip tight as though the contents were burning him. "You came," he said, relief flooding his voice. "I need answers," Anna said firmly. Dr. Elias nodded, handing her the folder. "You deserve to know the truth, Anna. This is about your real parents." Her fingers trembled as she opened the file, her eyes scanning the documents inside. The first page was a faded newspaper clipping with the headline, "World's Most Feared Couple, a Dynasty of Destruction." Beneath the headline was a photograph of a man and woman, their faces cold and calculating, their eyes devoid of compassion. She read further, her breath catching as the details unfolded. The headline recounted acts of unparalleled cruelty. The poisoning of a small village's water supply, leaving hundreds dead or permanently disabled. Orchestrating a worldwide arms trade that prolonged wars, creating chaos and profiting from human suffering. The theft of critical medical supplies from hospitals during a global pandemic, leading to countless preventable deaths. Each event was described in gut-wrenching detail, accompanied by grainy black and white photos of devastation. Anna flipped through the pages, her disbelief mounting with every word. They did all of this," Dr. Elias nodded grimly. "Your birth parents were brilliant, charismatic, and ruthless. They hid behind philanthropy and wealth, but were among the most feared individuals in the world. No one was safe from their grasp." Anna's voice cracked as she asked, "Why didn't anyone stop them?" "They were untouchable," Dr. Elias explained. "They built an empire of fear, and when they were finally caught, the world celebrated their downfall. But then came the complication. You." Anna froze. "Me?" Before Anna could ask another question, the sound of tires crunching on gravel echoed outside. Headlights pierced through the cracks in the greenhouse's walls. Dr. Elias's face paled. "They found us." "What?" Anna whispered, panic setting in. Dr. Elias grabbed her shoulders, his eyes locking onto hers. "Run, Anna. Now." "I can't leave you. Go," he hissed, shoving her toward the back entrance. Anna bolted through the overgrown paths behind the greenhouse, her breath hitching as the sounds of car doors slamming and voices shouting filled the air. She crouched behind a cluster of bushes, her heart hammering as she watched the scene unfold. The mayor stepped out of one of the cars, his polished shoes glinting in the headlights. Behind him, several policemen fanned out, their weapons drawn. "Dr. Elias," the mayor called out smoothly, "you've caused enough trouble. Hand over whatever you have." Dr. Elias stood his ground, his expression defiant. "She deserves to know the truth." The mayor's smile turned icy. "You've overstepped your bounds." He nodded to the officers. Two policemen seized Dr. Elias, forcing him to the ground. Anna clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms as she watched helplessly. The mayor leaned down, his voice dripping with menace. "You've made a grave mistake, Elias. Edenville doesn't tolerate betrayal." As they dragged Dr. Elias toward one of the cars, Anna bit her lip to keep from crying out. She stayed frozen in place, waiting until the cars disappeared into the distance before she dared to move. Tears streamed down her face as she stumbled back toward her house, clutching the folder tightly against her chest. Dr. Elias had risked everything to give her the truth, and now it was up to her to uncover the rest. Anna quickly returned home, now more ready than ever to get the truth, and the only people she felt that she could get it from were her adoptive parents. As she returned home, there were familiar sounds started playing through the speakers. The storm siren pierced the silence of the house like a knife, shrill and unrelenting. "No," Anna said firmly, her voice shaking with frustration and disbelief. "Not again." Her adoptive parents, Lila and Marcus, were already on their feet, their faces pale but their movements resolute. "Anna, come on," Marcus said, grabbing her by the arm. She yanked free, her eyes blazing. "You're not distracting me this time. What are you hiding? Tell me about my real parents." Lila hesitated, glancing at Marcus for reassurance. He was silent, his jaw tight. "Tell me," Anna shouted. Marcus's composure cracked. "Enough, Anna. You don't know what you're talking about. Just do as we say." Anna's voice rose with defiance. "You're lying. You've been lying my entire life. What were they like? Why am I here?" Lila's voice, usually so soothing, turned sharp and cold. "Stop asking questions you don't want answers to." Anna's chest tightened. "I do want answers. That's all I've ever wanted." Marcus stepped closer, his face shadowed with something Anna hadn't seen before, something dark. "You have no idea what kind of people they were. You're better off not knowing." Anna's pulse pounded in her ears. "Then why am I here? Why am I in Edenville? What's so special about me that everyone is lying to my face?" Lila's voice cracked as she tried to regain control. "Anna, please, we're trying to protect you." "Protect me from what?" she spat. Her parents exchanged a glance that was more than just uneasy. It was fearful. Marcus opened his mouth to speak, but Lila cut him off, her tone venomous. "Fine, you want the truth. Your parents weren't saints, Anna. They were monsters. And if you keep digging, you'll ruin everything we've built for you." Anna reeled at Lila's venomous tone, but before she could press further, the siren wailed louder, reverberating through the house. Marcus seized the moment. "No time for this," he barked, grabbing Anna's wrist. She struggled, digging her heels into the floor. "I'm not going to that basement again." "You will," Lila snapped, her voice eerily calm now, "or I'll drag you there myself." Their iron grip on her arms was too strong. She thrashed and screamed, but they hauled her toward the basement door. "This is just another distraction. You can't keep avoiding this forever," Anna yelled. They didn't respond, their faces stone cold as they pushed her into the dark, musty space. Marcus flicked on the single hanging bulb that barely lit the narrow staircase. "Stay here. We'll come for you when it's safe." Lila added, her voice chillingly even. "This is for your own good." The door slammed shut, and Anna heard the unmistakable sound of the bolt sliding into place. Her heart pounded in the suffocating silence of the basement. She stumbled back against the wall, the echoes of her parents' sinister tones swirling in her mind. For a moment, she felt tears sting her eyes, but anger quickly replaced them. She pounded on the door, screaming at the top of her lungs. "You can't keep me locked away forever. I'll find out the truth. I swear I will." When no answer came, Anna slid down the wall and buried her face in her knees. She refused to cry. Instead, she sat in the dark, plotting her next move. Whatever secrets Edenville held, she was closer than ever to uncovering them. And no siren, no locked door, and no lie from her so-called parents would stop her now. Anna's mind raced as she scanned the storm shelter for any way out. The air felt heavy, and her pulse thundered in her ears. Her eyes darted around until they landed on a narrow vent near the ceiling. It was small, but it might be her only chance. Stacking a few boxes to reach the vent, she pried at the cover, her hands shaking. With one final tug, it popped loose. She climbed up, squeezing through the tight, dusty passage, ignoring the scrapes on her elbows and knees. The vent led outside, and Anna tumbled onto the cool grass, gasping for air. Her house loomed behind her, dark and ominous. But something felt off. The entire street was eerily silent. No sirens, no neighbors. Just the sound of her own labored breathing. Steeling herself, Anna crept next door, her instincts screaming to find answers. She jiggled the handle of the neighbor's back door. It was unlocked. Slipping inside, she was greeted by an unsettling stillness. The house looked normal at first glance, but the kitchen table caught her attention. Papers were strewn across it, covered in handwriting and printed text. Anna leaned closer, her heart sinking as she read. Script, weekly market scene. Script, small talk with Anna. Her breath hitched as she flipped through more pages. Each one detailed interactions, dialogues, and even mannerisms. These weren't notes or journals, they were scripts. The neighbors weren't just townspeople, they were actors. Edenville is a lie, Anna whispered, the weight of the realization crashing down on her. Suddenly, a car door slammed outside. Anna froze, the sound cutting through the silence like a knife. Peeking through the window, she saw the mayor stepping out of his car, flanked by her adoptive parents. Her stomach twisted. They were going inside. Anna watched from the neighbor's window, while attempting to stay away from the window, enough to be hidden from their sudden looks. "This is getting out of hand." Lila's voice was sharp and panicked. "She can't know anymore," the mayor said coldly. "We'll handle it." Marcus's voice trembled. "You said this wouldn't happen. We trusted you." The voices faded as they moved deeper into the house. Anna crept toward the back door, her heart pounding. Before she could slip out, shouting erupted from her own house across the street. Angry voices, furniture crashing, and the unmistakable sound of chaos. Anna peered through the window. The mayor stormed out of her house, his face a mask of fury. He held a sleek black device in his hand and raised it to his mouth. His voice boomed across the town, amplified by unseen speakers throughout all of Edenville. Code Black. The subject has escaped. All units, locate and capture Anna. This is not a drill. The word sent a chill down her spine. From every direction, shadows began to move. Vehicles starting, lights flickering on, and figures emerging into the streets. Anna didn't wait to see what would happen next. She bolted out of the neighbor's house and into the shadows, her mind racing. The scripts clenched tightly in her hand were proof that Edenville was a facade. But now, the entire town was after her. She didn't know where she was going, but one thing was clear. She had to run. She had to find a way out of Edenville. Now. Utopia. Chapter 4. The streets of Edenville, so pristine and familiar, had transformed into a labyrinth of fear. Anna darted through the alleys, her breath shallow and quick, her mind racing for a way out. The mayor's voice still echoed in her head. Code Black. The subject has escaped. Every shadow felt like it held an enforcer. Every flickering light threatened to expose her. She clutched the crumpled scripts in her hand like a lifeline. Proof of the town's lies, though they now felt like a weight dragging her down. Turning a corner, she froze. 2 guards were patrolling the street ahead, their flashlights sweeping over the pavement. Anna ducked into a doorway just in time, her heart pounding as the beams of light passed within inches of her hiding spot. "Clear," one of the guards muttered, his voice cold and detached. "She won't get far," the other replied. Anna waited until their footsteps faded before slipping out and sprinting toward the outskirts of town. Her goal was simple: reach the next town over. Somewhere outside Edenville, she believed, lay the answers she desperately needed. She weaved through backyards and cut across parks, the perfectly manicured lawns eerily empty. The usual hum of neighborly chatter and children playing was gone, replaced by an oppressive silence. A floodlight suddenly clicked on, bathing her in a harsh white glow. "There she is," a voice barked. Anna bolted, her adrenaline surging. Behind her, the pounding of boots grew louder. She scaled a chain-link fence, her hands slipping on the cold metal, and dropped into someone's garden. She sprinted toward a row of hedges, crouching low as more guards rushed past the street behind her. Her lungs burned, but she pressed on, her focus singular. She had to get out. Finally, after what felt like hours, Anna reached the edge of town. The perfectly paved streets gave way to an open field, bordered by trees swaying gently in the night breeze. Relief washed over her as she stumbled forward, her gaze fixed on the faint outline of a road leading away. But then, she hit something. The impact sent her sprawling backward, her head spinning. Anna blinked, her hand reaching out in front of her. Her fingers brushed against something smooth and solid, something invisible. Confused, she stood and pressed both hands against the air. It rippled under her touch, like the surface of a pond disturbed by a stone. "What is this?" she whispered, panic creeping into her voice. She pounded on the invisible wall, her fists striking uselessly against the barrier. Desperate, she threw her weight against it, and the surface began to shift. It wasn't just invisible, it was moving, like a curtain being drawn. Anna grabbed the edge of the ripple and pulled. Behind it was a stark concrete wall, towering and unyielding, stretching endlessly in both directions. Her knees buckled as the realization hit her. There was no way out. Edenville wasn't just a town, it was a cage. She pressed her forehead against the cold concrete, her breath shaky. "I'm trapped." The sound of approaching voices snapped her out of her despair. The guards were closing in. With one last glance at the barrier, Anna turned and ran back toward the shadows, her mind racing. She couldn't escape. Yet. But if Edenville was a cage, there had to be a door somewhere. Anna wiped the sweat from her forehead, the weight of her failed escape pressing heavily on her chest. She crouched behind a hedgerow at the edge of the field, scanning the eerily quiet town. Guards patrolled in pairs, their flashlights sweeping methodically over every corner. The mayor's booming announcement still echoed in her ears, amplifying the suffocating tension. "Think, Anna," she muttered under her breath, her fingers curling tightly around the crumpled scripts in her pocket. "If I can't get out, I need to figure out another way." Her mind raced, latching onto the tunnels she had discovered beneath the mayor's office. They connected parts of the town, possibly the whole town, and might offer her a chance to move undetected. But going back to the mayor's office was too dangerous. It would undoubtedly be heavily guarded. Then, a thought struck her. Dr. Elias's house. If the mayor had a hidden entrance, maybe Dr. Elias had one too. The doctor played a main role in the operation, and his house might hold secrets, just like the mayor's office had. She steeled herself and began creeping toward the residential streets. Every movement felt agonizingly slow, each sound amplified in her ears. As she slipped between two houses, the crackle of a radio startled her. "All units report to Quadrant 4. Possible sighting." Anna flattened herself against the wall, her heart hammering. Two guards rounded the corner just ahead, their heavy boots crunching on the gravel path. She held her breath, willing herself to become invisible. "She's smart, but she won't get far," one of the guards muttered, his flashlight sweeping dangerously close to Anna's hiding spot. "We'll find her. It's only a matter of time." The guards passed without noticing her, their voices fading into the night. Anna exhaled silently and pressed on, her footsteps as light as possible. When she finally reached Dr. Elias's house, it was cloaked in darkness, the curtains drawn tightly over the windows. The house looked untouched since the doctor's arrest, but the silence around it felt unnatural, like a trap waiting to spring. Anna hesitated for a moment before slipping around to the back door. She jiggled the handle. It was locked. Undeterred, she found a loose garden stone and used it to smash the pane of glass on the door as quietly as she could manage. Reaching inside, she unlocked the door and slipped into the house. The air inside was stale, the faint smell of antiseptic lingering. The familiar sight of Dr. Elias's organized chaos, a desk piled high with papers, medical books strewn across the coffee table, felt almost comforting. Almost. Anna moved cautiously, her eyes scanning for anything that might hint at a hidden entrance. She started with the closets, pulling them open one by one. Coats, shoes, cleaning supplies, nothing out of the ordinary. In the study, she found a large bookshelf. Running her fingers along the spines of the books, she pressed against the shelves, hoping for a hidden mechanism. Nothing moved. Frustration began to creep in, but Anna forced herself to stay focused. The answer had to be here. She entered the bedroom, her steps tentative. The room was sparse with only a bed, a nightstand, and a tall wardrobe. She opened the wardrobe and pushed aside the neatly hung lab coats, her hands brushing against the back panel. It shifted under her touch. Anna's breath caught as she pushed harder. The back of the wardrobe gave way, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. "Bingo," she whispered, her heart pounding. Before stepping in, Anna glanced over her shoulder, half expecting the mayor or a guard to appear. The house was still, but the sense of being watched clung to her like a second skin. With a deep breath, she stepped into the hidden passage, pulling the wardrobe door closed behind her. Darkness enveloped her as she descended the staircase, her hand trailing along the cold, damp wall. Whatever lay ahead, Anna knew there was no turning back now. Anna descended deeper into the tunnels, her pulse quickening with each step. The air was thick with the smell of oil and damp concrete, and the faint hum of electricity vibrated through the walls. She entered a massive chamber lined with rows of sleek, unfamiliar cars. Their glossy exteriors reflected the dim overhead lights, and she marveled at their pristine condition. "They must have been brought down here somehow," Anna murmured, her eyes scanning for a hidden ramp or doorway that could explain their presence. As she moved cautiously between the vehicles, the sound of heavy footsteps and murmured voices echoed through the tunnels. Anna froze, her heart leaping into her throat. She ducked behind a car, peering around the edge just in time to see the mayor enter, flanked by 3 armed guards. "Search every corner," the mayor ordered. His tone was cold, devoid of the usual charisma he displayed in public. "She's here somewhere." Anna's chest tightened as she realized they were heading toward the room with the surveillance cameras. She waited until their backs were turned, then slipped between the vehicles, keeping as low as possible. The mayor and his guards reached the camera room, and Anna crept closer, her movements painstakingly slow. She could see the glow of the monitors lighting up the walls as the guards spread out to check the area. "The longer she's loose, the bigger a risk she becomes," the mayor muttered, his voice carrying in the cavernous space. Anna's stomach churned. She couldn't stay hidden forever. She needed to move. As she inched past the camera room's open doorway, her foot caught on a loose bolt, sending it skittering across the floor. The sound was deafening in the silence. "What was that?" one of the guards barked. Anna bolted, abandoning all attempts at stealth. Shouts erupted behind her, and heavy boots thundered after her. She sprinted through the maze of cars, weaving between them as the guards shouted orders. A flashlight beam swept past her, and she ducked just in time to avoid being spotted. Her lungs burned as she pushed herself to keep moving, her mind racing for a plan. One of the guards rounded a corner, blocking her path. Anna grabbed a wrench from a nearby truck bed and swung it, the heavy metal colliding with his arm. He cried out, dropping his flashlight. She snatched it and ran. "Don't let her get away," the mayor roared, his voice echoing through the tunnels. Anna's legs felt like they would give out, but adrenaline drove her forward. She spotted a narrow maintenance corridor and slipped inside, pressing her back against the wall as she tried to catch her breath. The sound of footsteps grew louder, the guards closing in. A plan began to form in her mind. It was risky, probably suicidal, but it was her only shot. She waited until the guards passed, then doubled back toward the camera room. The mayor and one of the guards were inside, their attention fixed on the monitors. Anna crept closer, her grip tightening on the flashlight. She launched herself at the remaining guard, striking him in the side of the head. He collapsed with a grunt, and the mayor whirled around, his eyes wide with shock. Before he could react, Anna grabbed the microphone-like device from his belt and bolted. "Get her," the mayor screamed, scrambling after her. Chaos erupted as the guards pursued Anna through the tunnels. She darted between rows of cars, knocking over toolboxes and barrels to slow them down. A guard lunged at her, and she ducked, sending him crashing into a pile of crates. Just when it seemed she would be cornered, Anna spotted a steel door at the end of a narrow hallway. She sprinted toward it, her breath ragged. The mayor and his guards were hot on her heels. She threw herself through the door and slammed it shut, locking it from the inside. The guards pounded on the other side, their shouts muffled by the thick metal. Anna backed away, clutching the stolen device. Her hands trembled, but a small, victorious smile crossed her lips. "Let's see how you like being trapped," she muttered. Turning away from the door, she began to navigate the tunnels, searching for an exit. The device in her hand felt like her only lifeline, a tool that could bide her some time. Anna sprinted through the tunnels, the stolen device clutched tightly in her hand. Every sound, every faint echo of footsteps or creak of metal made her heart race. She knew the guards would soon realize the mayor was trapped and would come after her. Time was running out. She darted down corridors, her eyes scanning for any sign of an exit. The air grew colder, and the tunnels began to slope upward. After what felt like an eternity, she rounded a corner and found herself facing a heavy iron gate. It was slightly ajar, and beyond it, faint moonlight streamed in. Anna pushed the gate open, her breath hitching as she stepped into the open air. She was greeted by a vast, empty expanse of land under the night sky. The air smelled fresh but unfamiliar, carrying the faint scent of pine and damp earth. She started walking, her legs shaky but determined. The terrain was uneven, dotted with patches of scrubby grass and small clusters of trees. As she walked, she spotted a series of small lakes shimmering under the moonlight. Their surfaces were still, reflecting the stars above. Then she saw it, a weathered wooden sign. It was barely legible, but she managed to make out the name. Custer. Anna froze, her mind racing. She remembered the map she had studied in the mayor's office. Custer was a tiny town in Michigan, not far from the city of Ludington. It was exactly the kind of place she'd expect to find nothing but quiet isolation. Perfect for hiding something like Edenville. "I'm in Michigan," she whispered to herself, the realization both grounding and terrifying. Edenville wasn't just some isolated anomaly. It was real, and it had been right here all along. She looked around, trying to orient herself. The vast emptiness stretched in all directions, but she knew from the map that Ludington lay to the west. It would be a long walk, but it was her best hope of finding help, or at least a way to figure out what to do next. The night was eerily quiet as Anna trudged on, her thoughts racing. Questions swirled in her mind about what she had uncovered, who she could trust, and what would happen if she were caught. But one thing was clear. She was no longer willing to play along with Edenville's facade. With each step, she grew more determined. The lights of Ludington weren't visible yet, but she clung to the hope that they would be soon. It was her only chance to escape the shadow of Edenville and expose the truth to the outside world. Anna reached Ludington just as the first hints of dawn painted the sky in shades of pink and orange. The town was a stark contrast to Edenville. Where Edenville's streets were pristine and eerily perfect, Ludington's were alive with subtle imperfections, cracked sidewalks, peeling paint on storefronts, and the occasional flickering streetlight. It was raw and real, and Anna found it strangely comforting. She wandered through the quiet streets, her eyes darting to the closed signs hanging in most of the shop windows. A diner on the corner had a sign promising it opened at 6 a.m., and she made a mental note to return. For now, she kept moving, taking in the sights. The town square had a weathered statue of a sailor, a nod to the town's history with the Great Lakes. There was a park with an old playground, its swing swaying gently in the early morning breeze. The houses were varied in design and size, some well kept, others showing their age. It was nothing like Edenville's uniform perfection. Here, everything seemed normal. As the town began to stir, Anna slipped into the diner, blending in with the early risers, mostly fishermen and locals grabbing coffee before work. She ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, a plain bagel, and nursed a cup of coffee, keeping her head down. Anna debated telling someone about Edenville, but every scenario in her mind ended the same way: laughter or disbelief. Who would believe her story about a fabricated town, actors posing as residents, and a sinister mayor? The idea of being dismissed, or worse, being reported to someone who might send her back, kept her quiet. Instead, she decided to observe and blend in. Over the next few days, Anna kept to the shadows of the town. She spent her nights sleeping in the park, under a gazebo, and her days wandering the streets, looking for odd jobs or opportunities to stay under the radar. At the marina, she found work helping an older man named Gus, who needed an extra set of hands repairing his fishing boat. Gus didn't ask too many questions, and Anna was careful to reveal as little as possible about herself. In return, he paid her in cash, enough to buy food and keep herself going. She also spent time in the local library, using the public computers to research Edenville again. This time, there was no internet disruption, but frustratingly, there was still no trace of the town online. She realized how thorough the mayor's operation must be. Edenville truly didn't exist in the world outside its walls. The anxiety of being caught never fully left her. Every time a police car passed, her heart raced, and she ducked into an alley or behind a building. She knew it was only a matter of time before Edenville sent someone after her. Despite her best efforts to remain inconspicuous, Anna began to notice things that made her uneasy. People at the diner seemed to glance at her a little too long. A man at the marina asked if she was new in town, his tone overly curious. She couldn't tell if it was paranoia or if she was truly being watched. Anna knew she couldn't stay in Luddington forever, but for now, it was the closest thing to safety she had. She resolved to keep moving soon. Once she had enough money, a better plan, and maybe even some allies. Until then, she would remain the girl in the shadows, hiding from a world she didn't understand, and plotting her next move. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting Luddington in shades of deep orange and purple, Anna made her way toward the lighthouse. It stood tall and solitary at the edge of the marina, its silhouette outlined against the darkening sky. Gus's offer had seemed almost too good to be true, but desperation outweighed her caution. He had offered $200 in exchange for some help at the old lighthouse that evening. Anna hugged her jacket tighter against the chill and glanced over her shoulder every few steps. The streets were empty, yet she couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. When she reached the lighthouse, she hesitated. Something about it seemed off. The door was slightly ajar, creaking faintly in the wind. She stepped inside, her footsteps echoing on the metal staircase spiraling upward. The air inside was stale, and the faint sound of voices drifted down from above. Anna froze, straining to make out the words. She couldn't. Her pulse quickened, and she debated turning back, but curiosity, and Gus's promise, compelled her forward. Step by step she ascended, her sneakers barely making a sound on the old metal stairs. The voices grew louder, but they were still too faint to understand. At the top of the stairs, she paused, her hand resting on the cool metal railing. The voices had stopped. Her heart pounded in her chest as she pushed the door open. The sight before her made her stomach churn. Eva stood at the far side of the room, her back to Anna. She was breathing heavily, and something dark stained her hands. On the floor lay Dr. Elias, his lifeless body sprawled awkwardly, blood pooling around him. His eyes were open, staring blankly at the ceiling. Anna's breath hitched, and she instinctively stepped back, but the old staircase creaked beneath her weight. Eva whipped around, her face a mixture of shock and something darker, something unrecognizable. Anna's breath hitched, and she instinctively stepped back, but the old staircase creaked beneath her weight. Eva whipped around, her face a mixture of shock and something darker, something unrecognizable. In her hand was a bloody wrench, glinting faintly in the dim light filtering through the lighthouse window. "Eva?" Anna's voice trembled. "What did you do?" Ava's expression shifted into a mask of cold indifference. She wiped a strand of hair from her face, smearing blood across her cheek. "I did what needed to be done, Anna. Dr. Elias betrayed Edenville, just like you did." Anna's heart raced. "What are you talking about? Betrayed Edenville? None of this makes any sense." Eva stepped closer, her tone sharpening. "Of course it doesn't make sense to you. You're so caught up in your own little world. You think you're the center of everything, don't you?" Anna blinked, stunned by the venom in Eva's voice. "What? That's not—" Eva cut her off, her voice rising. "Do you have any idea what it was like growing up around you? You, the special one, the one we were all supposed to protect. Do you know how exhausting it was? Always making sure Anna was happy, Anna was safe. It was always about you." Anna clenched her fists. "You're twisting this. I never asked for any of that." "No," Eva spat, her eyes narrowing. "You didn't, but you didn't deserve it either." Anna's blood boiled as Eva continued, pacing now like a predator circling its prey. "Dr. Elias thought he could save you. He thought he could help you escape, that you were worth more than the rest of us. But he was wrong, Anna. He betrayed Edenville the same way you did, and now he's gone." Tears of anger welled in Anna's eyes. "You killed him because he tried to help me? You're insane." Eva stopped and stared at her, a twisted smirk forming on her lips. "Go ahead," she said, holding out the bloody wrench to Anna. "You're so angry, right? Take it out on me. Do it." Anna froze, staring at the wrench. Her hands trembled as she reached for it, her mind clouded with fury. She gripped the cold metal and raised it, her knuckles white, as Eva stood there, unfazed, almost daring her. But just as Anna stepped forward, the sound of doors bursting open echoed from below. Heavy boots clanged against the metal staircase as voices shouted, "FBI! Upstairs!" Anna turned toward the noise, wrench still in hand. Eva's expression shifted instantly. She stumbled back, her face contorting into a mask of fear. "Help me!" she screamed. "She killed him! She's going to kill me too!" The first agents reached the top of the stairs, their weapons drawn. They froze at the sight before them. Anna holding the bloodied wrench, standing over Dr. Elias's lifeless body while Eva cowered, tears streaming down her face. "Drop the weapon," one of the agents barked. Anna's mouth opened to protest, but no words came. Her mind raced, trying to explain, but everything about the scene looked damning. Slowly, she let the wrench fall to the floor with a clang. "She killed him," Eva sobbed, pointing at Anna. "She killed my father, and now she was going to kill me too." Anna's eyes widened in disbelief. "What? No, she's lying. I didn't—" The agents moved quickly, pulling Anna's arms behind her and cuffing her wrists. "You have the right to remain silent," one of them began, but Anna barely heard him. Her gaze locked onto Eva, who stood now with a mask of feigned devastation. But as Anna was dragged toward the staircase, Eva's expression shifted again. The corners of her lips curled into a triumphant, sinister smile. Anna's heart sank as she was led away. The last thing she saw before the agents pushed her down the stairs was Eva standing by Dr. Elias's body, watching her with cold, calculating satisfaction. Anna sat in the cold, sterile interrogation room, her wrists cuffed tightly to the table. The fluorescent lights above buzzed faintly, their harsh glow casting shadows under her eyes. She was exhausted, physically and emotionally, but her mind raced with the events of the night. She kept replaying Eva's twisted betrayal and the horrifying scene at the lighthouse. The door opened, and 2 officers entered, their expressions unreadable. They sat across from her, sliding a file onto the table. "Let's start from the beginning," one said. "Why were you holding the murder weapon?" "I didn't kill him," Anna said, her voice trembling. "I found him like that. Eva, she's the one who did it. She set me up." The second officer leaned forward, his tone sharp. "If that's true, why were you holding the wrench? Why didn't you call for help? Why were you at the lighthouse in the first place?" Anna stammered, struggling to find the words. "Eva lured me there. She had to have paid Gus to tell me to be there, but it was all a trap. You have to believe me." The officers exchanged a glance but remained silent. After a moment, they stood and exited the room without another word. Anna's head fell into her hands. She felt trapped, her protests falling on deaf ears. The door opened again, but this time it wasn't the officers. It was the mayor. He stepped inside, his presence commanding as always, and closed the door behind him. Adjusting his tie, he took the seat across from her, folding his hands on the table. "Anna," he began, his voice calm, but laced with condescension. "I can't believe it's come to this. Dr. Elias, all he ever wanted was to help you. And you killed him." Anna's head snapped up, her eyes blazing with fury. "I didn't kill him. Eva did. You know this isn't true." The mayor tilted his head, a faint smirk playing at his lips. "And yet, here you are, caught red-handed, quite literally." Anna leaned forward, her voice trembling with rage. "You're all in on this, aren't you? You, Eva, the whole town. What is Edenville? Why was I there? What's really going on?" The mayor's smirk widened, and he settled back in his chair. "You want the truth, Anna?" "Yes," she hissed. "Tell me everything." He sighed as though burdened by a heavy secret and began. "Edenville isn't a real town, Anna. It never was. It was created, built from the ground up. For you." Anna's jaw dropped. "For me?" "Yes," he said, his tone calm but piercing. "Everything in Edenville, every building, every person, every blade of grass, was carefully designed for one purpose: to watch you, to control you, to ensure that you would never harm anyone." "Why?" Anna asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I've never done as much as harm a fly." The mayor's eyes narrowed. "Because of your parents. They were 2 of the most sinister individuals the world has ever known. Murderers, manipulators, masterminds of chaos. When they gave birth to a daughter, you, it was feared that their darkness might be inherited." Anna shook her head, disbelief and anger warring in her expression. "That's insane. I'm nothing like them." "That's what we hoped," the mayor said, his voice softening, almost as if he pitied her. "When law enforcement finally caught up to your parents and ended their reign of terror, you were just a baby, found in their hideout. But even then, the potential for destruction was too great. We couldn't risk letting you live a normal life. So you locked me in a fake town," Anna spat, her voice dripping with venom. "We gave you a chance," he corrected, leaning closer. "A controlled environment where you could grow up without the influence of your parents' legacy, where you could prove you were different. But now," he gestured toward the file, which Anna realized had photos of Dr. Elias's body and her holding the wrench. "Now, you've proven us right. You're exactly what we feared, Anna. A killer, just like them." Anna's body trembled with rage. "You're wrong. I'm not evil. This is all a lie." The mayor stood, his expression icy. "It doesn't matter what you believe. The evidence speaks for itself. And now, the world will see the truth about you." As he turned to leave, Anna felt a surge of defiance welling up inside her. This wasn't over. She would find a way to expose the truth about Edenville and about herself. The courtroom was packed, every seat filled with eager faces from Edenville, each one ready to testify against Anna. The tension in the air was suffocating as the trial began, with the prosecutor weaving a damning narrative. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," the prosecutor began, his voice heavy with conviction. Anna was not just a resident of Edenville. She was its shadow, its ticking time bomb. We all knew this day would come. Anna sat at the defense table, her hands gripping the edges, her knuckles white with strain. She wanted to scream at every word they said, but her lawyer had warned her to remain calm. Witness after witness took the stand, their testimonies cutting through Anna like knives. She always kept to herself, but there was something off about her, one woman said, like she was always watching, always plotting. She had these bursts of anger, another man claimed. Little things would set her off. We all tried to help her, but it was no use. Even Lila, her own adoptive mother, testified. "I wanted to believe she could change," he said, shaking his head. But in the end, it was clear. She was just like her birth parents. Anna couldn't take it anymore. She shot to her feet. "That's a lie. You're all lying. You are actors. None of this is real." The judge pounded his gavel. "Order. Ms. Gray, if you do not contain yourself, I will have you removed." Anna sat back down, seething. Her outburst hadn't helped. She could see the jury's faces, grim, determined, convinced of her guilt. The prosecutor delivered his final argument. Anna Gray is not a victim of circumstance. She is the spawn of two of the most evil individuals this world has ever known. Her parents left a trail of destruction, and now she has begun to walk the same path. We cannot allow history to repeat itself. The jury deliberated for only an hour. When they returned, the foreman stood, his face unreadable. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Anna Gray, guilty on all counts." The courtroom erupted, half in applause, half in murmurs. Anna's heart sank as the judge nodded solemnly. "Anna Gray," the judge said, his voice heavy with finality, "you have been found guilty of murder and conspiracy. This court sentences you to life imprisonment in the world's most secure facility, where only the most dangerous criminals are held. May the world be safer for it." "No, you don't understand," Anna screamed as guards grabbed her arms. She thrashed, her voice cracking with desperation. "It's all a lie. Edenville was a lie." The crowd watched her with cold, detached expressions as she was dragged from the room. Her cries echoed down the hallway. As she was pulled toward the exit, she caught a glimpse through the open courtroom doors. The judge was standing with the mayor, shaking his hand. "Thank you for your service," the judge said. "Edenville was a success. Only one life taken, instead of the thousands her parents took. You've saved countless lives." The mayor nodded, his face solemn but satisfied. It had to be done. She's her parents' child after all. Anna's vision blurred with tears, her rage and despair mixing into a storm inside her chest. The last thing she saw before the courtroom doors slammed shut was the mayor's smug smile. Her fate was sealed, but deep down, Anna knew this wasn't the end, not for her. Anna's transport journey was long, cold, and silent. The heavily armored van rumbled through desolate terrain, every bump jarring her already bruised body. Armed guards surrounded her, their faces expressionless, their weapons always at the ready. When the van finally stopped, Anna looked up through the reinforced glass window. Her new home loomed above her like a monolithic tomb, Infernum Point. The prison was carved into the side of a jagged cliff on a remote island in the North Atlantic. Endless grey waves battered the rock, the sound echoing like distant thunder. The sky was a permanent overcast, casting everything in a bleak, colourless light. This was a place meant to break the spirit as much as the body. The guards dragged Anna through the gates, past rows of razor wire and high-tech surveillance towers. Inside, the prison was even colder. Metallic walls, dim fluorescent lights, and a silence so complete it felt oppressive. They marched her deep into the bowels of the facility, far below the surface, to a section called the Maw, reserved for the worst of the worst. Here, the cells weren't cells, they were cages of torment. Anna's cage was a narrow concrete box with no window, no bed, and barely enough room to stretch her legs. Chains bolted to the wall held her wrists and ankles, restricting her movements to mere inches. The air reeked of mildew and decay, and a small grate in the floor served as the only toilet. The walls were etched with deep scratches, evidence of past prisoners trying to mark time or claw their way out. The single light bulb overhead flickered constantly, casting eerie shadows that seemed to move. The food, when it came, was slid through a slot in the door, a grey, unidentifiable paste that barely passed for sustenance. The only sounds were the distant screams of other prisoners and the occasional metallic clang of doors slamming shut. Anna sat in her chains, staring at the cracks in the floor. Her body ached, her throat was raw, and her mind was a storm of anger and betrayal. Her thoughts raced. They think they've won. The mayor, Eva, all of them. They think this is over. She clenched her fists, the chains rattling faintly. They built Edenville to cage me. They lied to me, manipulated me, and destroyed my life. But they don't know me. They don't know what I'm capable of. Her lips curled into a faint smile, a spark of defiance burning in her chest. One day, I'll get out of here. One day, they'll see what happens when you try to break someone like me. The flickering bulb overhead went out for a moment, plunging the cell into darkness. In that darkness, Anna's resolve solidified. This isn't the end, it's just the beginning. As the light flickered back on, it illuminated her face, no longer broken, but determined. Her eyes glinted with a dangerous resolve. In the silence of Infernum Point, a war was already beginning, and Anna Gray was ready to fight.
So that is going to do it for today. I hope that you guys did enjoy my story, Utopia. We have much more planned here on the Friday Night Campfire Stories. We will be getting into a brand new story next Friday, so definitely come back and check it out. And as you may have seen the little trailer during the video, I am releasing my third book, The Hollow Season. It's another horror anthology series that I am releasing. I'm so happy and proud of this collection. The first two books I wrote, I'm very happy with the stories, but I feel like the writing in my first one, Whisper in the Shadow, definitely showed that I was brand new to it. And A Perfect Journey Through Villainous Eyes was definitely better, but I feel like it carried on given the size of the book. But the stories were definitely incredible, but with the Hollow Season, I was able to capitalize on the stories being incredible, but also I feel like I was able to not only bring the great stories to it, I feel like I was able to make great storytelling and character building and drive new emotions out of the horror stories that will get everybody chills, but also just feeling so many emotions during the book. And I'm so excited for you guys to be able to read it. Or if you are a reader, I would definitely recommend picking up a copy of The Hollow Season coming out August 1st. It will be available on Amazon and in Barnes & Noble. Also, here on the YouTube channel, I make 3 full-length videos every single week. Every Monday, I do an episode of Echoes of the Past, which is my paranormal history and haunting series. Every Wednesday is Far From Fiction, which is my true crime series. And every Friday, the namesake of the channel, the Friday Night Campfire Stories, where I share a chapter from one of my original stories with you guys. It's also important to note that all 3 of these series will be having their own separate giveaway for a chance to win a signed copy of my book, The Hollow Season. So stay tuned to the episodes next week to be able to find out how you can enter them. Again, that'll be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So definitely hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so you stay notified of when you have your chance to enter in for a signed copy of The Hollow Season. But that is going to do it for today. I hope that you guys did enjoy. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, thank you for spending a little bit of your evening here with me.